but I want to share just a little thought of my little adventure in El Salvador. And it's more of a reflection rather than a homily. And it hit me as I was flying in the last part of the trip from Atlanta into Grand Rapids. I was trying to put in perspective kind of what an experience I had, because each time it's special. And this is the reflection that I was going through. Last week, I was part of a caravan. There was 9 of us, plus myself. And we were not going north, but we were rather moving south towards the small Central American country of El Salvador. And we were able to leave behind our families and our communities, confident that they would be safe while we were away. And I understand you were well taken care of by the wonderful priest that was here last weekend. The others were sure that their families would be safe and secure while they were away. And we traveled nearly 4,000 miles in relative comfort on a jet, and we arrived within 6 hours to our destination. On arrival, we were welcomed with embraces, with a hearty meal, and we were offered and given hospitality in their homes by very simple but very loving and caring people. While we were flying, another caravan of thousands was at the same time moving north through Mexico and heading to the United States border. Because of violence, because of lack of jobs and hunger in Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, they could not leave their families behind. So they were taking them with them, holding them in their arms and carrying the few possessions that they may have had. They would be walking over 1,000 miles in oppressive heat, dangerous roads, and uncertain of what was ahead of them. They would be greeted at their destination, not necessarily with hugs and welcome, but rather lines of troops and barbed wire and signs saying to go home. As my Delta flight began its descent into San Salvador, I could not help but think of that contrast. I began to reflect on the words of Jesus. When I was hungry, you gave me to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me to drink. And when I was a stranger, you welcomed me. For our delegation of 10, we were for 1 week those who were fed, given drink, and welcomed. We were welcomed as brothers and sisters, not as foreigners. We crossed borders and were able to share one common or two common things: our humanity and our faith. We shared Eucharist together and celebrated our great unity under Christ. While there, I was told the story of a young man named Pablo. He's 26 years old. He graduated from the University of San Salvador with a degree in law. He was the subject of many threats from local gang members of MS-13 and was eventually brutally attacked and beaten while walking home one night because they thought for sure that he was working with the police. His mother, after his beating, pleaded with him to leave the city and live with his aunt while the family looked for ways to get enough money to head north to the United States or to Canada to find asylum. When he was able to get the money, he traveled with his brother and cousins who were also threatened by the gang. The 3 of them had to take out loans and put up as collateral their only possessions of what was their home in order to pay $7,500 each to have a coyote lead them north. They began that journey, and the coyote was a thief. He abandoned them, ran off with all the money that they had given him. They still made it to the border almost, but were arrested and held in detention for 7 months. And then eventually were turned down for asylum. They were sent back to El Salvador and are now hiding for fear of the gangs. They would hope someday to escape because they said this country that we live in is not safe for people like us. As we approach the celebration of Thanksgiving this week, we should be very, very thankful for what we have, where we live, and the wonderful freedoms we enjoy. We are truly a blessed people, and we have opportunities to work, to enjoy the benefits of our work. The two biggest reasons El Salvadorians are leaving their country to come north are these of lack of work and the escape from gang and domestic violence. During our last day in El Salvador, our delegation met and we were asked to pick a scripture that spoke to us of what the week had meant to us. I will eventually write what some of the other delegates wrote, but I'd like to share what I chose. I went into the Bible and found in Romans 10:15 these words, "How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." I think in many ways, our small delegation, our caravan, in the parishes that supported us, you here at Our Lady of the Lake, St. Anne, parishes of St. Catherine's in Portage and St. Basil's in South Haven, all of you helped us become agents of good news in the midst of poverty and corruption. Our presence with this good people showed a solidarity of compassion and faith. We crossed the borders of ethnicity, language, socioeconomic differences, and shared as best we could our humanness and our Christian love. They in turn opened their homes and hearts to welcome us and to love us. We felt welcomed, not for what we brought, and we brought a lot of things, not for what we did a lot of things, but merely because we were brothers and sisters, created by the same God and redeemed by the same Christ. I think we all learned one very important message, and I'd like to leave that with you. Home is where you love.